Hey everyone, Dr. Joseph coming back to you for our second question for the question week for Overflow Marriage. Excited to just be able to be a part with you guys for this week. Just share a little bit of just kind of what we're learning and what we're hearing as well. Here's the second question that is probably the most popular one that's out there that we just want to address here real briefly is how do we grow in emotional intimacy? Right? And emotional intimacy, when we're talking about that, we're talking about how we communicate, we're talking about how we show friendship, how we show care to one another. And so I think those are two very important things, communication and care. Right. So, how do we grow in this emotional intimacy? Well, it begins with how we listen, how we talk to one another. Right. So, there's the words that we say, and not only just the words that we say, but how we say them to one another that is valuable in our marriage, right? If I'm just constantly just nagging, if I'm constantly just complaining about things, listen, I'm not going to want to hear that on a regular basis, right? I'm going to be tuned out to that, right? And so that's just a very important to do. But the other thing too is how am I listening to what's being said? And so we say at Overflow Marriage, we say that there's three things that impact the way that you listen that will increase the way that you have emotional intimacy, right, with one another. And so here it is. First, it begins with your posture, right? Whenever I'm talking with Brittany, right, or I'm listening to Brittany, right, am I doing this the entire time that she's talking? Right? If I'm doing that the entire time that she's talking, I'm not in a posture of listening. The other thing too is the circumstances, right? Am I in a place of where I'm ready to listen to what she's saying? It can be very easy sometimes for us to just slide into these times of where it's not only that we have the distractions, but when are we talking, right? Am I coming home and I've had a busy, hard day and I've already been stressing about things, and then I come in and immediately I want to have a conversation? Well, no, I may not be ready for that conversation. So there's the posture in which I'm doing that. Here's the other thing we say is active, right? Am I available? Am I actively listening into what's being said? So not only am I like listening in, physically, but also is my body language one that's speaking to, hey, yeah, I'm ready to engage with what's being said, right? And am I repeating what's being said? Once again, those are active listening skills, not for the sake of just, oh yes, I'm gonna just sit here and just dive into this. I'm saying from the sake of care, for the sake of communication, to really listen to what's being said. And here's the third thing, and this is probably the one I think is the most difficult, but it makes the most impact on emotional intimacy. Am I surrendering to what's being said? Listen, sometimes we have hard conversations and we don't like what's being said. Sometimes it's things that we just need corrective, just work in, and we just need our help from our spouse, maybe just to see some blind spots that are out there. Am I willing to surrender? Which means, do I trust what's being said in this moment? Right? And we do. We have a natural trust that's built through commitment. But I've got to be willing to listen as well to what's being said to understand this is for the betterment of myself, right? The moment that I don't trust what's being said in these times, that's whenever trust begins to break down, and that can be very detrimental to a marriage. So there's the communication side. Here's the other thing that I think is so valuable, and we'll finish up with this: is just care, right? The way that I'm going to grow in emotional intimacy is that I show care to my spouse. Whenever I recognize, I see that they are just in need of just something in their life, whenever I just see that they're just going through a difficult time, when I see that they're in a moment of just struggling, am I willing to step in and care and meet their needs in that moment the best that I can? Communication and care. If I focus on those two things, simple enough, I will grow in emotional intimacy. In fact, we will grow in emotional intimacy in our marriage. So, listen, that's question two. We're excited you guys have been a part of this. We're excited as well to just continue to hear what questions that you have. And so keep sharing those. We will answer them. And I'm excited about how we're able to keep on walking through this for you guys. God bless. Talk to you soon.